Brawler warrior like you never seen. Imagine the Royal Rumble taking place on the street where it's on site, hand to hand, no snipes. Find chicken in the street to be charged from the fight. Elbow drops from the top of a building. Oh, what a feeling. Damage competition with special moves that are vicious. To be the last one standing in a shrinking ring is the goal. No holds barred, winning is everything. That's where you find Nick and Nate. Nick with a luchador mask, Nate's a hipster, no debate. In the Rumbleverse, you gotta brawl, that's the only way. Even though some escape just to brawl another day. It's a magnificent melee, a fun-filled fight for fighters of all age. You had a long week, you need some R&R, you know. And the R&R's a Rumbleverse Radio, yeah.
I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I've got who's its and what's its galore. You want thingamabobs? I've got 20. But who cares? No big deal. I want more. I want to be where the people are. I wanna see them dancing, strolling around.
What you doing?
Hey, you ready to go? Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Rumbleverse Radio. I am Nick, aka Mr. HYPEman, and here with me today is
Nate, a.k.a. Hype Hipster. He says with such confidence.
And hey, we got another playtest, which means another episode of Rumbleverse. The last one, or the near last one, maybe, until the launch of Rumbleverse. So we think. So, I mean, let's get straight into it. What were your thoughts this time around? So this is our third time getting a chance to play it.
So, I mean, like, overall thoughts, this one definitely feels like they are close to launch. You know, it's kind of one of those, I can't really see another delay happening, because it seems like, for the most part, graphics, kind of everything melding together seems to be on the up and up.
Yeah. Okay.
There is one thing, you know, that I feel like is still a recurring issue that I'm hoping is fixed, and we'll talk about more later. But I mean, it's well, actually, a couple things. But you know, the fact that it's still solos is, you know, I'm still getting into that of oh yeah, this is fun, like smash, ooh, jump up, you know, do fun. So I'm not down super much into the meta nitty gritty. You know, I'm like, oh, that looks like a cool power up, you know, great. So there's a couple, you know, that I feel like I've identified that I like, but I mean, it's still one of those, it's like, yeah, this is going to be fun when it comes out.
Well, let me tell you something, sir. I agree.
I was expecting it to be much more intense. Wow.
Yeah, we're going to talk about like more of our negatives. We have our top and bottom things that we are excited for and worried about. We'll talk about that later. But overall, I do feel like at this point, like, I think it's just like, release it. I totally get the apprehension, right? They don't want to be Cyberpunk. They don't want to be 2042. They don't want to be countless other Battlefields. It's not just 2042, but like countless other games that come out and it just destroys the reputation of that company. So it's like, I get the apprehension, but at this point, I do feel like they are ready enough. I get that's the caveat. They're ready enough. There's enough times that I'm having plenty of fun. Because, like, I guess in comparison to last time I talked about how there was a little bit of input lag, and I didn't feel that the first time, but you did. And then the second time, we kind of reversed where you didn't feel the input lag, but I did. And so this time, it's still there, but it's definitely a lot better than the last time I played it. And I do feel like I'm making connections that make sense. And then the same thing, vice versa. I'm getting connected with when it makes sense, not just because, you know, game. So,
right, just because game does thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do think, you know, that the question is, is this more or less ready for launch? I think more.
I definitely would say that it's on the more side of it.
Okay.
Of it needing to be released. This just felt like the polish. It felt like the polish right before the release, pretty much. And I can see where you're talking about with the apprehension. In this day and age, we want to make sure everything's on the up and up. But also on the other side of it, I do feel like I feel like this is not a word, but we're going to still run with it. Marketorial sense, that it doesn't hurt to have like, hey, we're doing another playtest. Because I feel like across the board, maybe something will change later on, but and that's part of the great thing about the show overall is you've got the diehard, which is you, and the casual, which is me. And so like there's parts of it overall that have me interested, but I can tell you if without you and or without them doing these like advertised play events, I it's one of those, I'm more likely to play it at launch rather than them just launching it and be like, hey, try this thing out, and I'm like, oh, that's wrestling, I don't know how I feel about that. So
yeah, I guess the weirdest thing is going to be the launch. You know what I mean? Because the thing is that no matter how many playtests they have, a lot of people could just be waiting for the launch, right? And so even though they playtested it, even though they had, yada yada million, at least 1 million, I don't know, maybe more. Show us your numbers, cowards. But they've had yada yada million people play already. But how many yada yada million people are, like I said, kind of waiting because they want to see how the playtest goes? They're waiting for their trusted, Shroud or Dr. Disrespect to play the game on release. They don't really... Because, other than... I think Shroud played either the first or second time, but I don't think he played this time. I don't follow him religiously, but same thing with, like, Dr. Disrespect. I think he might have played one of the times. I don't think he played this last time, because I think it was very much, I'm just going to wait until it releases. So how many people are just waiting for the go-ahead? It very much could be that they have all their ducks in a row, except for that one freaking goose, but they have them all in a row.
Gerald.
God damn it, Gerald. And then it launches, and there's so many more millions of people who are there that all these playtests are kind of moot because it ends up going to shit anyways. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean when I was talking about the apprehension. It's like, I get the apprehension, but at some point, when is it going to be enough? Because it's like, maybe it's never enough, and
maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe. Maybe it's just bound to happen because that day one jitters of everyone logging in at the exact same time, and then the servers go, you can have every code perfectly in line, every, nanosecond just ready to go, and just, it could go to crap. So, yeah. So in saying that, yes, I think both of us agree it is more ready for launch this time around, to the point where it's like, launch it. Come on, guys, launch it, right? So in talking about that, last time we talked about like our favorite moves and our favorite like landing spots. This time, let's talk about, since this is our last playtest before the launch, let's talk about our top and bottom things that we're excited for and we're worried about. Now, here at TX3 Productions, we usually like to do negative stuff first so that we can end on a positive. So let's talk about this negative stuff. Number 6, we didn't do 10 for both of them, or we just, said as many as we could. So number 6 is, and this is low because it's not a huge deal, but what's next? Obviously we're going to have battle passes. They're obviously going to be called Rumble passes, or stadium passes. Arena passes, maybe? Huh? Everybody vote. What do you think the battle pass is going to be called? If it's just battle pass, honestly, you done f***ed up.
Yeah, epic.
Epic.
Made an
Iron
epic
Galaxy
failure.
But no, like, other than a battle pass, right? Other than the stuff that we can expect, like cosmetics and things like, what's next? You know, I think we can both agree that, like, as long as this show is going on, we're going to keep playing. We're going to keep having fun, you know, whether it be on a weekly basis, daily basis. That's not really the point. The point is that we'll keep doing this as long as the show keeps going on, right? So we're the diehards, especially Mr. Hype Man himself. But what about the general audience? What is next for the general audience? What is next to keep them coming back? You know, is it going to be new moves? Because I feel like they have a lot of the moves already, right? If I look at wrestling and then I look at what they have so far, it's like, other than adding in signature moves that maybe they don't have the quote-unquote rights to because they have to ask, you know, a certain someone, what's it called now? F? E? E's the one with the pandas, right?
No, they're the ones that have broads in Atlanta.
I got that. I'm like Captain America. I got that. I understand that, Raz. Anyways, but the WW, you know, F it all. Maybe there's signature moves that they can't use, whereas the more broadly used moves, they can use those because, you know, they're not like licensed or something. I don't know. Like, if you do this, is this trademarked?
I feel like it is, but knowing John Cena, he probably wouldn't care because he seems like a genuine. Yeah, if they do it peekaboo, that would be really funny. That would, you know, to do that. But I mean, it's a valid question, especially when we went. I mean, when we lived through the battle royale flood, as we'll call it, you know, where every single thing that was coming out, it's like, what's the hook that it's going to try to pull me in?
Yeah.
And, you know, we have a lot of games that, you know, either are cheap or free to play, you know, like Deep Rock being one of them that has kind of a battle pass system. That's all I'm going to say about it. Shush. That's all I'm going to say about it. But like, that's kind of the world we're living in now, where there's a lot of different free to play games with some sort of battle pass mechanic. So what is it that's going to keep players coming back consistently?
Yeah. And
is it one of those that, you know, is that what's going to split up the market? Is it going to be, you know, they just do, you know, moves, and the hardcore wrestling fans, you know, come in and they love it, but it doesn't really do anything for the casuals? Or are, you know, there are things that they're going to try to be, you know, kind of pull from the Fortnite bucket and kind of go crazy and do things to get the consumer as much as possible?
Yeah. Because, I mean, obviously, Fortnite is the easiest example because they are also epic, right?
Right.
Even though Iron Galaxy does this one, it's still under the same wheelhouse, right? So if we take Fortnite as the kind of go-to or be-all, end-all, be-all of battle royales, every season or even every half or quarter season, it's like, here's a new weapon. And if it's not a new weapon, here's a weapon that we vaulted and now we're bringing it back. Here's a new vehicle. Here's a new area. You know, I definitely expect, especially something like Capital City, I could definitely see it changing over time. And that's not necessarily what I'm worried about, because it changing over time is, okay, cool, we get a new map. But like, what is literally going to keep us coming back? Because like you said, moves. I mean, unless they are just really, really cool moves, what is going to keep people coming back? You know, because then Fortnite also has like gadgets. Are we going to get gadgets in this? Because part of the charm is not having gadgets or not having guns, or, you know, that's part of the charm. So what is, other than cosmetics, just what's next? But like I said, that's on the lower end of the scale because it's not the number. It's not the most thing we're worried about.
Another thing that would be considered in the bottom that would very much be nice is to be able to see the ring while we're trying to figure out where we want to drop.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's kind of the core thing that lets you pre-game plan. And if you're not able to do that, then it's just kind of like there's almost no strategy to it, unless you play it enough to know where the typical hotspots are, and then that's where you go or what have you. But luckily, the thing that is counter to that is there is a bit more maneuverability when it comes to the character than something like Fortnite. So I never feel like if I land on the complete opposite side, I never feel like that rush panic like I do in Fortnite if I'm way outside of the circle. So, I feel like that helps kind of ease that pain, but it still would be nice.
Yeah, because like for instance, you do kind of travel slowly. So like especially if you want to aim high, you can kind of get a good look of the entire field and especially where the circle is obviously. And you go slow enough where you can make a gameplay while you're in the sky, but when we're talking about getting sweaty and getting those kills or whatever, and you want to know, because obviously if you want to land somewhere specific, then maybe you want to aim lower so that you get there faster and you're there before everyone else. But that would be easier if we knew where the circle was going to be ahead of time. And so therefore we could, which I think like when you're in the cannon, you can look or whatever, but it's still it's something that, especially when we get duos and we can like argue back and forth. No, I want to go here. No, I want to go there. It's just something that would be nice. So once again, it's towards the bottom because it's not as important, but yeah. Then number 4 is style budget. And you might be thinking, and when I say you, I mean Nate, you might be thinking, what is style budget, Nick?
What is style budget, Nick?
Thank you, sir. I'll tell you because I had no freaking clue. So I was messing around with my cosmetics and I just happened to notice up at the top right-hand corner there was something that said style budget. And I'm like, wow, I don't remember seeing that before. Has that always been there? It possibly has been and I just never paid attention, right? And then I noticed that the same symbol was on each part of the cosmetics. And so obviously if I took one and I put a more expensive one on there, it would show on the style budget. So I'm like, oh, the points are directly to that. So it's like 20 points and all the various things are like 1, 2, and there was an orange one that was worth 4 points. Now, this just seems kind of weird. Why do I have a budget on my cosmetics? And I mean, the main reason this worries me is because when we do open up for monetization and we start buying things, what if I buy a bunch of stuff and for some reason I can't wear it all? I can't wear the elbow pads that I really like because my helmet is worth too many points. I'm sure that Iron Galaxy will balance it out so that it doesn't matter. But if it doesn't matter, why is it there?
That's a good point. I mean, it could be a way to help restrict in the health of the game sense,
right?
But also, if it's just cosmetic, then yeah, why would that matter?
Why would it matter? Other than like, I know there are certain like tops you can wear that'll make it so that you don't have elbow pads. You know what I mean? But then just show that somewhere. I don't know. Like it's such a weird thing to have that it just kind of, like I said, it worries me that if I buy something, am I always going to be 100% guaranteed to wear that plus all the cool other things that I bought? So it's like when we're talking about money and actually spending money on a game that we love and we just want to look a certain way, but we can't because like, oh, I can't wear these elbow pads because it goes over my style budget. Like it's just something that's a little weird. So hopefully it's not a problem because, like I said, they balanced it. But once again, if it's balanced, why is it even there in the first place? So, yeah, just something weird.
Well, I mean, leading right into that, and pretty much next thing on the list is going to be monetization overall.
For sure.
Because it is a free-to-play game. This is a game that's coming out with, years of other free-to-play games with really shitty monetization practices. And so, Epic kind of did spearhead a little bit when it comes to like the Fortnite and the pricing systems and things like that. So it is a curiosity of how is this going to be? How are you going to sell items? Is it going to be packaged? Is it going to be extremely pricey per item? Are you going to go the Apex route when it comes to special items? And then it also goes directly into, you're talking about before with the licensing thing with the WWE or WWF. I don't know if we're going to get dinged for saying that. So what have you.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Pandas.
Pandas. Panda. With things like that might be like a licensing thing if they were to do like specific cosmetics, like Rey Mysterio's mask and things like that. Like if they
I don't know what you're talking about.
I won't tell anyone. So like things like that could be higher cost items if they're licensed, products. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this can be ran when it comes to monetization. But luckily, Epic, I feel like, has kind of gotten to a good ebb and flow when it comes to their monetization with their bread and butter, being Fortnite.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much of it is they found the right thing versus they started something and now it's so commonplace that we don't give a crap anymore. Because I mean, when Fortnite first started and they had a skin for like $18 if it was purple, or maybe it was, no, I think it was $18 if it was purple. I remember getting together this video comparing the skins in Pandora, which was another Epic thing, the Epic skins in there versus the Epic skins in Fortnite, and why is it so much more expensive. So I remember putting together a video at the same time that Fortnite came out. And so now it's like, technically you get 1,000 for $7 now instead of $10. So it's like, it is technically better, way better, I would argue. But at the same time, it's like, how much of it is because we're just used to it?
We're just numb. Yeah.
We're just numb to it. But yeah, I would argue the main thing. Well, first off, let's talk about two things. Number one, fun fact: I didn't know this was a Mysterio mask. I literally typed in blue luchador mask, and this came up. Only afterwards did I realize this was Mysterio. I had no idea because I didn't pay that much attention to WWF before this. So fun fact there. But then number two is, obviously it's a free-to-play game. Obviously we would like them to make money. So we're not saying that monetization of any kind is evil and therefore screw Iron Galaxy and Epic. That's not what we're saying. So with that out of the way, yeah, my main worry is the fact that there are parts. So like, am I going to have to buy a helmet, and that helmet could be only like, it could be like $10 by itself, because it's kind of like, okay, that's a bit much for just a helmet when I have all the other parts or whatever. So obviously there are going to be certain costumes that are going to go together. They're going to sell them in a pack. Like if it's something like a John Cena or The Rock, they're going to sell the tattoo arm, and then they're going to sell like a bald cap or something. I think that'd be funny. Instead of making you bald, it's literally a bald cap. I think that would be funny as hell. And then maybe even the bald cap has like one of the eyebrows up or something. And then they're going to sell his like signature trunks or something. And that is going to be sold all together, right? And so I think something like this, like a battle royale, I don't think we have to worry about like pay to win stuff like we saw in like Diablo Immortal. I don't think we have to worry about that stuff, right? It's a battle royale. There are no, well, I'm going to eat my words because some people are like, actually, this one's pay to win. But no, I don't think that's something we have to worry about. I don't think your normal battle royale has stuff. But the number one thing that does make me worried is when Apex came out with these event time things, and the events made you spend like $200 just so that you could get the chance at buying an heirloom, and that heirloom also be, you know what I mean? So it's like, as much as like, I'll spend money if you want me to spend money, but don't mess it up with being like greedy, and it's like, okay, here's these 8 items. The total of that amount of items is going to cost you in the hundreds, but you only have 7 days to get them. I hope they don't do things like that, because that's the only thing that would really just kill this for me, because it's like, it's easy for me, I have kids, so it's easy for me as a parent to say like, okay, I recommend this for people like me who have kids and just let them play or whatever, because, it's harmless or whatever. But then if they start doing stuff like that, then it's going to be like my parent light bulb or whatever, my parent defense is going to be up, and I'm going to be like, oh no, are they trying to trick my kid into doing something? Are they trying to get them? And so that's when it's going to be a no, I think. But other than that, like I said, it's a free-to-play game. Obviously, it needs to make money. So that's our main worry about monetization. All right, number 2. We talked about this a little bit last time, and that is the strike priority. There's a couple of things, and maybe this is just me being nitpicky, but there are a couple of things that just stick out to me. Number 1 is, why is a strike above a vicious? And the only reason I'm being a little nitpick here is that, like, why would you call something vicious if something below it, like a strike? I think strike, and I'm like, strike. Vicious, I'm like, ah! So name wise, why did they call it that? Maybe it should have been the other. Am I making sense? Or okay,
I mean, I get what you're saying.
Okay. The other thing is that some of the special abilities that you pick up and read, some of them are labeled as like a vicious attack, and then some aren't. So you would think it would be like strike, vicious, and then like special attacks. But then some special attacks are vicious, so that means they go down here. And I think when it comes to the priority, I think they should just go to a more basic thing. Now, I don't think, last time we talked about how it should just be a rock, paper, scissors, so it should be 3. I don't think it has to be that basic, but maybe if they start at the bottom, it could be white, and then it could be like a light green, and then a dark green, and then a light blue, and then the name of each ability is in that font. So the font is that color, because the icon itself could be whatever color, because you have green, blue, and purple, right? So the icon, the picture that goes along with it, that could be the same color of the rarity. But then the letters, the font is in the color of their priority. Something like that. Something to just help learn it a lot faster. And I mean, especially in the heat of battle, when maybe you're just not thinking about it or something, just to know that, okay, I'm looking at it and it's this. So I don't know, something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that they're probably going to add, because it would be one of those that you feel like just they could add like a 1, a 2, a 3 to the like icon or to the details of it, So it's something that it's definitely, I feel like, a side effect of it being, the pre-release, network test. So I feel like at this point, the ironing out that they're going to do is basically going to be UI and menu stuff.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, because strike versus strong strike, like that makes sense. And it's when you get into the minutia of, well, some of the special attacks are this and some of the special attacks are that, and then a weapon. It's so much to look at, and just to make it as easy as possible for people to learn, I think is, now obviously you could just dodge, right? There you go. Right. Everything beats a dodge, or nothing beats a dodge, rather. So like you could just do that, but it's like just for the sake of, and this also means for the future, right? If they add in moves, like having to relearn the entire meta because they added in 2 or 3 moves is going to be just a little confusing. So, yeah. So then what's our number 1, Nate?
So our number 1 is one of those that you never really want to interact with in a multiplayer, or really have an issue with, and that's going to be your input lag. Now,
should have had a longer pause.
Your input lag. Now, what's interesting about this is both, like, I'm playing it on PC and you're playing it for the most part on your PS5, right?
That is correct.
So I can tell you from my experience, it did feel better in terms of there didn't feel like this buffer between the time I hit the key to when the strike was made. That being said, it does still feel like there's a little bit of wonkiness where I'm not feeling that specifically tight, like punched, like I'm not getting that specific feedback that I need to. It's definitely one of those where it could feel better. Like it's one of those I'm noticing it. So
yeah, I would say this time around. Okay, so last time I complained about the lag, and I would say up to 80% of the time it was perfectly fine and I was having a freaking blast. But then there was that 20% that was just like, okay, I pushed the button and nothing happened. This time, I'll admit, it's more like 90, maybe even 95% of the time, I was having a blast and nothing was going wrong. But when it was 5 of us all together and I'm pressing something and it doesn't happen, I'm not saying that I could take on everybody, but hey, we'll never know. Because then I get hit and or I think the most annoying thing we can both agree on is if I'm standing here, somebody hits here and I get hit. It's like, wait, no, that's not how it works. Or you remember last time how I was talking about like one of your favorites was like the sumo hands where you just last time I was talking about how that's auto-targeted. How we'll auto-target somebody. Well, sometimes that auto-target didn't work for me. Now, it was only 1 or 2 times out of like 10, for instance, but when I'm like in the heat of battle trying to do my sumo palms and it completely misses because it didn't auto-target like it usually does, that is infuriating. And like I said before, me and you, hardcore. We're going to be playing this at least once a week, if not 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week. Because, I mean, we want to stay up to date, but also because we're having fun and we're going to get clips and all that kind of fun stuff, right? So we're going to play the game. What about the general audience? A general audience only has to have 1 or 2 lags and they're just going to be like, screw this game. It's not fair. I'm out of here. And so that's why this is number 1. It's not because we think it's a problem, right? Necessarily. We do, but we don't, right? We think it's a problem because it annoys us when it happens. But really the main reason is because we're worried about the average player. We're worried about the longevity of this game if that continues to be a problem and, God forbid, 5 million turns into only 1 million players because 4 million just had that one too many times and they're just like, this game is just crappy or whatever. Even though it's not, it's a really good game and it's actually very well implemented, but just enough times will make people just crap out on it and just give up on it. So yeah, I would say go ahead.
I was going to say, especially with a free-to-play game, I mean, that there's basically zero ownership there. So I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a free-to-play game and played the first 5 minutes of it or a match of it and had a really not great experience. And was like, you know what? I don't need to. I've got other games.
Right.
Like, there's nothing that's incentivizing me to keep playing it if I can't feel like I'm enjoying playing it.
Yeah, as much as it being free-to-play could be like, oh, hey, I'll give this a shot because it's free, so why the hell not, right? Not only is that a factor, but then that also could be its detriment because it's like there is no investment into the game because they didn't have to spend any money. So as easy as it was to download, it's easy to delete. All right, so that's all the stuff we want to whine and bitch about. But what about the stuff that we really like? Let's end it on a positive note. Mr. HYPEman agrees.
Well, this is a big one. This is a major one for me in particular. Is I'm excited to get some actual party play in this game.
Because why play with yourself when you can play with others? TM.
Exactly. But no, I feel like this is gonna be kind of a key factor for me because as of like every time we played this, it's just been solos, and so it's not one of those where like if I'm having an whatever experience, like I don't have you on the other side being like, hey, let's go here, or hey,
Mhm.
so it's kind of like I'm left to my own devices, which is not an issue, but it's also one of those again. I am not playing this so far in a strategic sense, apart from because I mean we've played games at this point where we know what supers do. It's
Mhm.
basically like it's basically a formula at this point. So I mean,
Mhm.
I know how to play it in that sense, but I'm not playing it the same way you are.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a different experience when you can play with a group all together. But B, it's also one of those that I'll learn how to play the game in a different way.
Mhm.
And so, like right now, it's just still kind of one of those. Yeah, it's fun to jump in and like, ooh, ba boo, beat some stuff up, and oh, that was a good time. But being able to play with friends, I feel like you're able to share in that insanity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, plus there are just some moves in particular that seem ripe for cooperativity, is what we'll call it. Like for
You mean
instance, if
cooperation?
cooperativity, okay, and don't ever question me again, or your checks will suddenly be lost in the mail.
You guys are
So
getting paid?
yeah. Oh, have they all been getting lost? Anyways, so fuck was I saying? This is why you don't interrupt me.
I don't know. Do we have someone on HR though? Because like I need to have a conversation about this.
um, there are certain moves that bring on cooperativity, and like for instance, you can do strike, vicious, and when you do that, you hit, and then when you hit them, you kind of do like sort of an uppercut, but what you actually do is you pick them up and you throw them behind him. So then imagine you're behind me, and then you follow up with another combo, and that ends up killing him or something. So things like that, or things like me doing a giant, like elbow drop, and then you doing an elbow drop after me,
Mm-hmm.
and like, because when you get knocked down to the ground, right, the only thing that you can do is either wait for them to get up, or you can elbow drop them. So if I do an elbow drop and then you do an elbow drop right after me, and especially if we're both on a big ass skyscraper, we're doing like
Right.
500 damage each, we could
Yeah.
take out somebody
Well,
relatively easy.
well, that's another thing where teamwork can come into play. Like, let's say you are on top of a skyscraper. Let's say the other guy is, let's say, like I'm chasing someone down and you're still up there. And I can hit them. That way they're closer to the position that they need to be in. And then you can then, perform elbow drop.
Yes.
Words are hard.
Yep,
It's lit.
words are hard. So number 9, the power of the yeet. I personally love picking up something and throwing it, and I especially love throwing books. Throwing book at somebody, even though I think it literally does like 5 damage. It's just funny to just see this floppy pieces of pages just slowly float to them, and then it hits them. It
You
doesn't
hit
go
him with
that far.
knowledge.
Yeah. Hit him with some knowledge, man. So I love it. It's so fun. But not only that, but it can be very strategic, especially if you're down to like the last circle or whatever, and you're trying to keep somebody out of the rink. Just like doing a little yeet and hitting them can keep them outside just long enough for that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you win because you just happen to hit them enough times to keep them out of the ring. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's the power of the yeet.
The yeetus in all of us.
Yeah, the yeet on the street is so complete.
In the heat. Where's my feet? Speaking of,
Check out that beat.
so for number 8, powders is one of those mechanics that's already in the game, so it's not something that we're looking at forward to in the future, unlike party plate. But being able to give you that just slight additional boost in this kind of game, I feel like can really make or break a situation. Especially with some of the maybe more downside of things we've talked about, but just in general, being able to, let's say, be able to up your strength, up your stamina at the same time, and get a higher damage. We're gonna do this from now on, elbow drop, because it's just awkward and it's funny to me. It's one of those things that does add a little bit of extra oomph.
Yeah.
To the experience.
Yeah, and it definitely gives you a way of kind of customizing your play style, and it is fluid enough to change. So like this time I'm going to do more stamina, I'm going to have a little bit of strength, and then finish it off with some core. And then there's also the strategy of if I have 5 of one thing, because each time it's only 10%, but that 5th one will actually be 20%. So it's like, okay, do I want to focus on stamina, focus on core, focus on strength? And so that really does go down to, am I a survivor? Am I going to give up? Am I survivor? It took you a second.
I'm not going.
So are you a survivor? Then you want to go mainly core. Are you just an aggressive player? Then you want to go more strength.
Are you a child of destiny?
Yeah. Do you want to outlast, giggity, the rest of them? Then you want to go stamina. So the fact that there could be some maybe added in the I don't know what the hell could be added in the future. Like maybe there could be powders that do better special damage, although I guess strength already does that. So I mean it's perfect the way it is, I guess. I don't know. So that's good enough. Let's move on. Number 7, the comeback mechanic. In Call of Duty, you have the gulag. You can come back there, or you can get bought back. In Fortnite, they decided to just steal Apex, and you have this, thing. You can go to a van, and you can get called back in. And in Apex, obviously, same thing, but they did it first. So, but I really, really like the comeback mechanic in this, and that is, if you're doing damage or if damage is being done to you, the star meter is filling up. But not only that, you can just walk around and grab stars literally everywhere, and you can build up your star meter then. So basically, before you even get into a fight, you could theoretically have your star power ready to go, which if you activate it, it gives you obviously better damage, and you can do that big super move that does like the really cool thing. Or if you just bank it, then if you die, you automatically come back with 300 health. So 300 health isn't enough to like absolutely win the day, but it's at least a nice little comeback mechanic, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
So for number 6, kind of talked about it earlier when we were talking about some of the more bitching things in regards to the circle, but the traversal is something that does add like a different layer to what makes it different from Fortnite, because that's the biggest thing with this being under Epic is like, how is this going to compare to Fortnite? Because I mean, we're doing it consistently. It's one of those things that's just kind of a natural thing. So what is it that separates it from other battle royales and or Fortnite? The one thing primarily is verticality. You definitely have I'm trying to think of the best analog when it comes to that, the way that it moves, but being able to just climb on top of buildings and super jump and utilize a lot of the different features, and also the fact that it's in a smaller map adds just that extra level of what feels like mobility, pretty much. Add on top of that with the fact that the circle is constantly shrinking. Well, I mean, that's a given. I'm sorry. The circle is the circle shrinks at a pretty rapid pace, but I never feel like I'm stressed anytime that occurs. I feel like I'm still safe.
Yeah. I mean, the traversal, it's nice to zip around. It's nice to clean up things. I think the analog you were looking for was Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
Okay,
yeah. That's more relatable.
Definitely not
Lego
Genshin
Avengers games.
But yeah, just I mean, being able to reposition yourself, I think, is the best part about the mechanics, is being able to, zip out of there, go up a freaking wall, and then if they start to follow you, just do an elbow drop.
Right.
So number 5 good thing is it's fast paced. I mean, I feel like unless you want to be one of those hot droppers, there's always time in a battle royale where it's just like nothing's going on and you've been running for the last 2 minutes because the circle is way the F over there and you just got to book it, right? In this, there is no downtime. Like you said before, this circle is constantly moving. You have literally 1 minute in between each time, and then it gets lower each time, right? So it's like you're just always on the move, and you're always just like, what's next? There's
certainly no lull when it comes to the moment-to-moment gameplay. So it's like that's where it really comes down to. It's like, what are they going to keep adding, or what are they going to do to make that moment-to-moment still feel fresh?
Yeah. And I mean, just the fast-paced nature of it in general. Like, not only that, but it's like instead of 100, we only have 40. And then because of that, instead of having the entire map, we have a section of the map each time we go into a match. So that adds just another layer of there's always something going on. I don't think you could stand still and not at least hear something in the background, like, oh, something's going on over there. Let me go see.
Right, yeah, some kind of fight. Yeah, some kind of fight's occurring, or something is happening in a near vicinity where you don't have to wait.
Yeah.
Really to find anything.
Yeah. Basically, if you wanted to, every 30 seconds something new could be happening. And I mean, that gameplay loop and that feedback loop is just perfect.
Well, going into that, as far as things, coming up again for number 4, a big thing that I think everyone will be excited about for sure is definitely going to be game modes and limited time modes. Introducing typical things like we see with ladder matches or cage matches, and getting that actually in a real gameplay specific setting. Like, we kind of workshopped that a little bit before, the way we were talking about before, where at the last 10 players, then everyone gets a notification or like an indicator of, hey, go here, and then that's where the cage match will take place. So it's kind of one of those that could transition into like the comeback mechanic, I guess. Maybe that's something that you could play around with it when it comes to something like a cage match. But yeah, like what we've seen, again, going back to Fortnite, Epic do cool things, and most recently with, no building, people really love variety when it comes to how are we going to play this wrestling game. So I feel like those are the easiest choices, the first 2, but it's like, what else could they do?
Yeah. I mean, ladder matches could be interesting because no matter where you end, you could basically just put like a belt, for instance, hanging, and then just spawn in a bunch of ladders, and then you have to like obviously stack up the ladders to get there, but then somebody could just come by and knock the ladder down, which, for the layman's, that's exactly how a ladder match works. I feel like I just literally play-by-play for there. But yeah, so like having something like that in the game as a limited time or rotating or something, I think that'd be super cool. Number 3 of the top things that we love and we're excited for. So this is one that we love, and that is we can launch anywhere on the map. The map is our oyster. This is definitely the thing I love the most about it, because any other battle royale, Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty, so on and so forth, depending on where the plane/bus is coming in, there are certain parts of the map that are either you can't get to unless you hit the ground first, or you have to do some super cheesy method of getting there, before you land.
It's not something that's super accurate. Like you're trying to figure out how to cheese. It's like a warthog jump in Halo. You're trying to figure out how to cheese.
Yeah. So I mean, in this one, you can literally just as long as you get your trajectory right, you can literally hit any part of the circle at any time. You just have to kind of do it. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you can just go anywhere, like that's super cool. I mean,
Yeah, it just kind of adds in with the traversal we were talking about before. It's giving you a lot of different mechanics to get around the map and kind of not be stuck in one specific spot or be stuck roaming. You can very easily get out of a situation also if you're in like a sudden fight. And so it's, it gives you a lot of variety. For number 2, I mean, we really kind of touched on it before, but it's a wrestling game. So you think that the tie-ins are going to be obvious, but I think it really is going to come down to licensing. I think that's going to be the biggest thing is are we actually going to see that? Because it feels like, it'd be great to have like WWE stuff and like you would make a lot of money doing that. But is this going to be one of those like Fall Guys kind of situations where they just kind of get broad universal like adoption of like pop culture stuff? And do they try to pull any strings from the Fortnite side of connections?
I think the funniest thing is going to be the tie-ins, because like if we take like a stormtrooper as an example, everybody knows what a stormtrooper looks like, but the funny / cool thing about the cosmetics is that they've specifically coded them in a way so that they'll fit all the different body types, right? So no matter what shirt you're wearing, it's going to fit, it's going to mold around the body. So whether you have a muscular man, muscular woman, fat man, fat woman, skinny man, skinny woman, no matter what you have, it will form around it. So using the example Stormtrooper, how funny would it look to have this nice big beefy Fortnite, like, I'm gonna crush it, I'm gonna wreck it. You know what I mean? Having a big ass stormtrooper, or a big fat stormtrooper, or a super skinny stormtrooper, and then on and on and on, whatever the costume might be, having it on a big fat guy, or a little skinny guy, or a big buff guy, like all the different variations or whatever, I think is really, really interesting. And the fact that like we keep bringing up, it's epic. So if they already kind of have some pull for Fortnite, how much more licenses can we get for this? And so, yeah, super exciting. And so the number 1, the top of the tippity top of why we like Rumbleverse, why we're excited for Rumbleverse, and that is sniper, no sniping. It's silly, I know. But seriously, the fact that somebody can't sit at the top of a building, which, by the way, you can climb, right? The fact that somebody can't sit at the top of the building and snipe down at you is so refreshing. Now, granted, they could still jump off said building and then elbow drop you, but I do feel like that's at least something you could try to avoid. Right? If you're good enough and you see it coming, you could dodge out of the way. Whereas if a bullet's coming at you, you can't really dodge a bullet. I mean, you're not Neo. You are not the one. So it's something that I first really, really kind of fell in love with when it came to Rumbleverse. The fact that I don't have to worry about somebody shooting me from a bush. Giggity. The fact that I don't have to worry about somebody so far away that it genuinely makes you question, how did they make that shot? Instead, they have to come get me. They have to get in my face. The worst that can happen, absolute worst that can happen, is that they could have 4 pocketed chairs or baseball bats, and so they could just throw 4 things at you. Technically 5, because they could have something in their hands already. So throw that, then pull out a pocket, throw. So they could throw all those things at you. But you could also dodge them, right? So even the fact that they can throw something at you, and that when they do throw at you, it does have kind of an auto lock, and it'll even kind of home in on you. Even though that is a possibility, it's way different than literally somebody unloading a clip on you and dying, or you unloading 2 clips on them. They don't die, they hit you twice in the head and you're dead immediately, right? So that has been the number 1 thing I've always from the very beginning have been excited about Rumbleverse. This up close, personal, and not only that, but then it just makes it fun, because it's no longer about getting frustrated. It's no longer about just, crap, serious. No, instead it's like, oh man, when I get beat, sometimes, not all the time, but when I get beat, it's like, you know what? That was a good move. And it's like, you can't really do that when somebody nut shots you or something.
No. Well, like with that prime example of, let's say someone elbow drops you, like it adds to the entertainment factor of it. Like, oh, like I'm like sparked in, like I have to figure out how to counter this instead of just like, oh, I'm I'm like, and it's the frustration of where'd that come from? How am I going to combat this? Can I get away? And then the answer is more than likely no. And so you're already kind of at a detriment in that situation as a whole. So you're right. It adds another layer of fun to it, and kind of it's just a more relaxing experience when you in a weird way.
Yeah. I mean, it's still sweaty AF, but
100%.
Right? Especially the last 2 play sessions. I feel like the first time was like, boom, boom, I'm having so much fun. And then the next time I'm like, like that gif of freaking Peel.
Yeah. It's like an oil wrestling match.
Ooh. Speaking of limited time modes, let's get the oil in there.
Oh my God. No. I just thought of, if they go the Fall Guys route and do absurd crossover stuff, wouldn't it be great to get the I don't remember the specific name, but the buttered up oily guy from Family Guy.
Greased up deaf guy. You're never gonna catch me. And that's the end of the show. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Rumbleverse Radio. We will definitely be having another one later. I think right before it launches, we're going to have this big, like, ultimate starter guide or something like that. We're going to have something really fun for you guys right before it launches. But until it launches, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for just, But anyways, I was Nick, a.k.a. Mr. Hype Man.
And I was Nate, a.k.a. Hype Hipster.
And you guys have a good day in that capital city. Here with me today is...
Nate, a.k.a. he who forgot his name.
Hype Hipster, right?
The Hype Hipster, yes,
yeah,
a.k.a.
yeah.
The Hype Hipster. We're going with that, even if it's not the case.
Well, no,
roll
it
the
is.
tape. Hype Hipster. Roll the tape.
Okay, take 2. I mean, other than, yes, we do have some things we'll talk about later. We're going to have our top and bottom things that we want to do to each other. I mean, that the game. The game, good and bad. Yep. And so, no! Take 2. So yeah, there are going to be some things we're going to have our dicks. Top and what? God damn it!
That's a take 2 dicks.
Take 2 dicks. Yeah. Okay, come on. I'm gonna be serious. We're serious individuals.
When you put it like
he
that,
says, wearing a mask. Anyways.
So, I'm sorry, say that again? What?
Is this more or less ready for lunch? And I said more. To
Gotcha.
which you would reply...
Less? More? I don't...
You think it's less?
No.
Right? Of Mr. Disrespect.
Right.
I didn't go to 3 years of medical school to be taught. Sorry. Okay. Up at the top right hand corner. Up at the top right hand corner.
I was gonna make a Five Guys joke, but now I'm hungry.
Oh God. like that one gif where it's like the one white lady.
Yeah.
Okay, this time I'm gonna go more stamina. Wow. Stamina.
Did you find Nemo?
Yeah, right. In Call of Duty. Hold on, Jesus. I kicked my own mic stand.
It's 10, where at the 10 hold on. Hey, stop it. Like we were talking about before.
Just the way you were like...